Alright, so this video is a little bit of an update on the Jeep. It's a video response to Kevin. He asked questions, how it was going, would I do the swap again. So first, the Jeep is running fine, the swap went well for the most part. I love it. I've put about 10,000 miles on it since February when I did the swap. Would I do it again? Yes, I would. There's a lot of things I would change. First of all, I probably would have not taken the 300,000 mile engine out of my Golf. I probably would have bought a used engine with lower mileage, left my Golf running, so I would have had a vehicle to drive during the process. Right now it's just sitting, waiting for its fate, whatever that may be. And that would have given me more time to figure out things like motor mounts, cooling, so forth. I wouldn't have been rushed through it. So let's go over some of the things I've learned. Let's start with plumbing. So there's a lot of plumbing. Fuel system being one. It was fairly simple. Put a regulator in using the stock pump from the tank. Use the stock send and return lines from the Jeep. Running up to my fuel filter, which I mounted on the cruise control bracket. That big solenoid set here, so I use that to mount my fuel filter, run the lines to the fuel pump. Pretty straightforward. Power steering hooked up fairly easy. I took it to a local shop that modified the hose, and it just screwed right into the Volkswagen pump. Where I had some issues is the cooling system itself. The Volkswagen cooling system has this jug, has this line that runs out of the back of the cylinder head into the coolant tank, and I left that off at first thinking you don't need it, I can bleed the air, and Brogan seems to have spotted a deer. But I had a lot of problems with air pockets in the cylinder head, getting the air bled out. It ultimately led to a head gasket failure, so I went back with added the Volkswagen tank and the line coming out of the back of the cylinder head, and that seems to have made it a lot simpler. Some people suggested using a vacuum fill method, which I thought, that would work, but it only works, if I'm here at the garage. If I'm on the side of the road and have a blown hose, then what do? Can't really do a vacuum fill. So with this, it was much easier to bleed the air out of the system, and it's been working really good since. I have a thermostat in it now, which I didn't have before because it would build pressure. So the other thing that I've had issues with a few times is the air-to-water intercooler. So I went to frozenboost.com and got the system, which you can see down here is the heat exchanger for the charge air. And the kit I got initially came with this little radiator, which I mounted. If you look at previous videos, it was mounted back in here. There was no way to get enough cool air to it to make it effective. I built the little ductwork to pull air from the bottom of the vehicle under the bumper, and still it just was not effective. So I went with this larger radiator. It's 12 by 24. Moved the stock radiator back. This is the air-to-water intercooler radiator, and it has been trouble-free ever since, with the exception of the water pump that came with the kit. This is the one that they sell typically, and you have the option to upgrade to a Bosch water pump for the system. This is a live well pump, not really meant for antifreeze and hot liquids. It worked for a time, but it failed after a couple months. I replaced it once, and thinking the hot temperatures from the previous small radiator made it fail prematurely. The second one only lasted a couple of months too, so I went ahead and got the Bosch unit, which is a little more expensive, but hopefully it'll last a lot longer. So plumbing, in that respect, I still need to neaten things up a little bit, make them look pretty, but it seems to be working well. Intake, I'm using a cone filter. It came with the Jeep had a K&N cold air intake system on it, so I kind of used that, which made a difference in air temps, intake air temps. dropped them a little bit, isolating the air filter, and I cut pieces off of it to make it work into the turbo using the mass airflow sensor from the airbox on the Volkswagen. I'm still waiting on, back in April, ordered a performance intake manifold from Wrangler TDI. I guess they were having trouble with manufacturing. I still have not got it, so that's going to go on whenever it arrives. Motor mounts, I have the solid rubber mounts as mentioned before. Those I'm going to change when I get some downtime. I want to use a hydraulic mount, something with some more cushion that can handle the twist of the engine as well, because there's a lot of torque on this thing compared to the 4-liter. The Jeep still does not have air conditioning because of clearance. The air conditioning compressor is right over top of the front differential. It hit just pulling out of the driveway, so you can either install a lift kit, raise the vehicle up, or relocate the compressor. So I bought, you'll have to see it later, I bought an electric motor. I'm going to try to do an electric air conditioning system. We'll see how that works. Wiring was not simple, but that's more of my speed, so it took a little bit of time to make a list of everything. Took a piece of cardboard, listed every pin and wire where it went to, so when I was peeling the harness apart, I could go back and look at it for reference and find out where all the wires went to. I mounted the ECU for the Volkswagen right here, which just seemed to be the easiest place within the engine bay. It was pretty crowded on the other side where the battery is. And the loom and the harness from the Volkswagen was the right length to mount it there, and then come up over the brake booster, and then you go to your glow plugs, to your injection pump, and whatever other sensors are on this side, and then cross over to your power leads for the battery. It wasn't too hard. It was pretty simple. On this particular Jeep, the tack pickup is on the bell housing, so that worked immediately. Hooking up the alternator, got my voltage gauge going. I'm using this water temperature location for the water temperature sensor. So I've got the temperature gauge working. I still have scan gauge so I can get the readings from the Volkswagen ECU as well. The other issue I've had that's been consistent is starter solenoids failing. As you know, it comes with a the kit I got from TD Conversions comes with a, I don't know if you can see it very well, it's blue, but it comes with a Hitachi mini starter. It's a gear reduction starter, and the solenoids just fail after a couple months. I don't know if you can see how close it is in proximity to the downpipe, but I wrapped the downpipe with heat tape to isolate it from heat more, but I don't think that's enough. I'm not sure if that's just a cheap solenoid or if it's still getting a lot of heat off of the exhaust. So I'm still trying to sort that out. But when you do a swap like this, or any kind of engine swap, there's 1,000 things that you don't think about until you get into the middle of it, especially the first time. You know, second or third time you do it, it's not going to be an issue at all. But for the first time, there's so many things that you're just not going to cross your mind, even though you plan ahead and do a lot of research and reading online. So don't let that discourage you. Go ahead and do it and give it a shot. But just be prepared for it to take longer than you expect and to cost more than you expect as well. It's like building a house. I heard somebody say one time, add 20% to what your estimate is if you plan on building a house, because there's always unexpected things. Sometimes that proves true. With this, I would say the same thing, not 20%, but you know, prepare to spend more money than what you anticipate and more time than what you anticipate, unless you've done it before and already know what you're getting into. So that's my experience so far. That's what I've taken away from it. So I hope that helps you with your decision to do something like this. I'll post you some more updates when I get time to work on the engine mounts and the air conditioning. So that's about it.